In this video, we are going to look at creating a Amazon Web Services S3 bucket, which has permissions for a user, in other words, your application, to upload and download files from a test bucket or an application bucket. So we have already gone and created this. So to show you how this works from the beginning, we are going to first show you the desired end state. We'll use the policy generator to create a new policy. So this is what our target looks like. Here's the edit bucket policy of your S3 bucket as it is being executed by Amazon Web Services. And then here is our identity access management dashboard and our groups, users, roles, and policies. So just to, I will explain as I go through and delete these things what they are, and then show you how to create them yourself. So our uppermost level of the identity access management begins with our test app policy. So this is a policy that basically allows uploading, downloading, and listing of objects in a bucket. You can see here it's the test bucket and the user uploads. An Amazon resource name is a long string with various fields separated by colons, and typically that goes with the ARN identifier, the AWS identifier, and it gradually goes more specific down the chain as the colons go. So then you'll have S3, which is the AWS service, and then it will be the AWS region name in between here if that is applied, or if you're trying to specify a certain location. And then here we have an account ID, and then if you put an account ID, then every thing after that will require somebody to be accessing the resource from your account ID. So once we have created our policy, which is here, then we can go back here, and we're just gonna delete that policy. Now you want to make sure that you don't delete any of these Amazon created policies. They're used by all sorts of things. And then the next level of our identity management chain is the group. You can see here we have a group. It does not have any policies attached. It has an app user. So we're going to go ahead and remove users from groups and take out our test user. We are going to go ahead and just take out the group that we created, and then we have our test user, and we're going to go ahead and you can see his various access levels and things there. We will delete the test user. So the purpose of showing you this is if you've already gone and created your own attempt at this and it did not work out for you, then you can clean up without worrying about potentially doing some damage to your account. You can safely delete these things because they can all be safely recreated. So we will start with creating a new policy because that is ultimately what's going to provide the authoritative permissions to our end user, i.e. your application. So we will use the policy generator to allow a user using Amazon S3 to delete objects, get objects, list the bucket, and put objects. And that should be good for our application. Now we're going to put in the Amazon resource name that we're defining this resource 2, which is going to be our new bucket. And we're just gonna maybe make that something easier to remember. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the US standard region. And it must be all lowercase. And the test app bucket. Okay, so now that we have our bucket, we can go ahead and look at the properties. And we're going to add a bucket policy. We will use the AWS policy generator. This is a policy for an S3 bucket. We want to allow access to this particular users of this policy, people who apply. And the principal is going to be our actual user application. So let's just go back here and get the ARN for our bucket, which will be used in our policy creation. You can see right here the format for our ARN follows the format I mentioned earlier. And that will be our test app bucket name right there. And also if we have a test bucket, we can create a folder. We'll call that user uploads, and we'll basically have an app that is allowing users to upload to it. So we come back over here to the Amazon resource name. You can see that it is specific to S3. We are allowing this policy to apply to any region and to any account, Amazon account resource. The bucket name is going to be the test app bucket 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the key name, all bucket names must be unique across the AWS system, so that's why I kind of tacked on the numbers. The key name will do user uploads. Keys are also known as folders because they are actually keys, however they are not. Now we're going to add the statement. Now you can see if we had not done something properly in here, it would not have let us enter the policy statement. So we'll go ahead and go to the next step. We have this policy generator. The policy name, we'll do test app policy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And there we go. Now we can go ahead and create the policy. And that provides high-level access to our S3 resources. And then we can go in here and we'll create the new user. And we'll call this user test app user 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we'll grant an access key to that user, show the security credentials. That's our access key and ID. Now these are the credentials that will actually be used by your application when it is providing the authentication configuration to the Amazon AWS SDK in your actual application code. So we can go ahead and download those credentials. It will make sure that you actually did that before you close the window. And so now we have our test app user. We'll go ahead and create a group for our application. This is test app group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we'll go to the next step. Now we attach a policy type to this, and we'll look for the policy that we created just a moment ago, or we're about to create. There we go. Looks like I made a typo. So we'll just go ahead and select this policy, go on to next. You can see the Amazon resource name for our policy right there. We'll create the group, and then we'll go into the group, add a user to this group. Select our test app, and we have our policy and our users, and under here in our username for you can see that we have our policy is created there, and these are access keys. You can see the public access ID, but you cannot see the secret anymore. And you can see that the access advisor is not tracking that, so that's fine. So now that we have our user assigned to our group with a policy, we take this user's ARN, copy that, and we'll use this ARN as our principal in the S3 Amazon policy generator. We're going to go ahead and select our actions here because this could be a subset of the actions we actually apply in our policy to the user, so we can further have granular control over this particular aspect. So we want to allow deleting objects, getting of objects, and objects are known to humans as files. And then we have a put object. So now we have 4 actions selected. The Amazon resource name is going to be our bucket, and you can go ahead and limit it to your account on here. You can see we are providing access to our S3 bucket under our account. The bucket name is test app bucket dash 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and slash user uploads, and hopefully that will apply resource field. Let's just come right here, Amazon AWS S3 colon, we can just take that out perhaps, there we go. And now that it has allowed us to add the statement, we can generate our policy. We want to make sure that we're providing access to the right principal, which is our application username, our user, which is actually a alias for our application. We can see that we are allowing these actions to take place on this resource with no conditions. Now we're going to go ahead and generate that policy. You can select all here, copy, and go back over to our buckets in S3. You can see the test app bucket, and we're going to go ahead and hit properties and make sure that you have the permissions tab expanded here. Add bucket policy. We'll paste the policy that we created in there and tab to the next field so that it enables save. And action does not apply. We can just take this SID out and make something up here. That should just be a unique string. Perhaps if we take the SID out. But yeah, that's just a unique string. Not apply to any resources in statement. STMT. Oh, you know what? I think that I need to create this policy generator. I had this open before I created this bucket and applied permissions to it. So we'll just close that and we will add a bucket policy. We'll use the policy generator. Select S3, and the principal is going to be our test app user 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The service is S3. The actions we're going to, actually we can probably just select all actions because this is a test app, and available actions are actually being limited by our policy anyways. So this is the resource that we're allowing access to. We'll go ahead and see it's the R in the S3 test app bucket user uploads. Go ahead and add the statement, generate the policy, select all, copy that, paste that into your bucket configuration, save, and close. And so you can see right here that bucket has been applied, or the policy to the bucket, and now your application can authenticate itself with Amazon Web Services and log in. We don't need the policy generator anymore, and we can go back up to all of our buckets, test bucket, and permissions is right there. So we come back here, and to clean up here, we'll just go to the dashboard, and we're all set. We created a new user assigned to a new group, which is assigned the new policy that we created in policies. And once we had all of that created, we were able to apply a bucket policy to our test bucket using the policy generator. It is a bit tricky to get the steps properly created, so because the creation of the Amazon resource that provides access to this relies on